BBOR, Black Box Online Radio, coming to you from West Virginia. Black Box Ned 88 on Instagram for the bonus podcast. And just dropping a couple quick announcements before we begin. Giving a shout out to YouTube user Ed1, that's Ed with two Ds, coming from the UK across the pond, who did a request for an upload on DB Cooper. And right now what I can say is I've never done a solo upload on DB Cooper, but we have interviewed Drew Beeson on the channel a couple times. And the second interview was talking about his book, Paratrooper of Fortune, which identifies a possible suspect in the DB Cooper mystery. And the link to that one will be in the description box here. Once again, our interview with Drew Beeson on his book, Paratrooper of Fortune, talking all about DB Cooper as well as some things with the CIA. Now with this one here, we're going to be going also to another shout out, going to Sean Stewart, who said, I would like to see you do an episode on the Mossad's involvement in the JFK assassination. And we're going to say some things about that in just a second, but I would always like to remind you guys, if there are any ideas that you would like covered on the channel, any suggestions for uploads, any topics that you would like discussed, please put them in the comment section below, and we will try to get to them. But the Mossad's involvement in the JFK assassination, what I can say about this one is I would absolutely love to talk about the Mossad, but this is some new territory for me. And this upload that you're listening to right now, think of this as an announcement of a series that is going to be coming. Because not only have we never done an upload on the Mossad on this channel, we've also never done one on John F. Kennedy's assassination. We did one upload on JFK, which was more talking about the overall JFK presidency, as well as how does the media perceive him. And it was more of an invitation for other people to share what they think about John F. Kennedy. And that was a very, very broad discussion and not focusing in 100% on the assassination. We've never done a specific upload on the Kennedy assassination. So this is some brand new territory for me. And I got to tell you, it will really take some time to comprehend and digest all of the information. And I would like to say that if we're going to do a series on the Mossad, number one, I would really like to talk about the Mossad, perhaps their origins and like the founding of this intelligence service that is coming to us from Israel. And I think we can do a better introduction than that if we're going to say something about the Mossad. Institute for Intelligence and Special Operations coming to us from the nation of Israel. And the institute is also known as Ha-Masud Lemodayin Ule Tafkidim Meyuhadim. Please excuse my horrendous pronunciation. I am not Israeli. I do not even pretend to speak Hebrew. But as I said, if we're going to cover a series on the Mossad, this Institute for Special Operations and Intelligence, what I would say is, number one, Kennedy assassination because it was requested. Okay. And the second one is, when I was doing that interview with Drew Beeson talking about DB Cooper, Paratrooper of Fortune, his new book, we talked a little bit after the interview, and I asked him, what do you think about Jeffrey Epstein? Like the whole situation that was going on with Epstein, the sex trafficking ring, Prince Andrew. And his response was, he said to me that Jeffrey Epstein was most likely a Mossad agent or possibly Mossad informant. Informant means just, doing somebody's bidding. But I've noticed that in other headlines, especially when I was reading up on some of these things and trying to watch a couple documentaries about the Mossad. I mean, you will find that on the internet that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent or possibly informant. An informant, I think, would be a much easier case to prove, or it would be a much easier case to develop a large file of circumstantial evidence. But we can talk about that in the future. And the third and final one, I mean, this is also some rather new territory for the channel, but we've mentioned Christopher Bolin on this YouTube channel, Black Box Online Radio, once before, and he was the proponent that 9/11, the attacks on the Twin Towers, were either orchestrated or conspired by or conspired with the Israeli Mossad, and that there's a type of connection there that has been overlooked. We mentioned him during our upload when we talked about the book Voodoo Histories by David Aronovich for a few reasons, but what I would say about that is, number one, I can talk a lot more about 9/11 and those conspiracy theories than I can about the Kennedy assassination. That is some really new territory for me. When it comes to looking at the assassination of John F. Kennedy, I know that a lot of people have many things to say, and we can I can tell you right now what other people's theories are, but I've been such an outsider to that one that I don't even necessarily have my own opinion on it 100%. So it'll be a learning process. And as I said, this is mostly an announcement here. Today I did get a chance to watch the documentary Spyweb Mossad, which is available on YouTube for free. It's 45 minutes long. I was one of those things when I woke up in the middle of the night, couldn't sleep. So what better to do than put on a documentary called Spyweb Mossad? That's when you can truly digest the information. And one of the points that they were really trying to put forward in this one is that the Israeli Mossad, this intelligence service, is not only relatively new, but it's also from a very new nation. I mean, you even look at the United States of America, where I am now, 1776 and all that. Israel is a nation that came to life in the mid part of the 20th century. So it's like the rise of the Mossad and their capabilities, it's just meteoric. But there are some other things that go in, and as I said, if we're going to talk about some things associated with the origins of the Mossad, perhaps we could even go back to the Sykes-Pico Treaty following World War I, which more or less, if you have to drop a single nutshell version, that it's a secret treaty that was formed by the European colonizers to say that they're going to put the nations of the Middle East against each other and just create an endless war that is going to keep this region destabilized, and then the other nations are going to have dominance over the region. I mean, that would be... I mean, some people might not even agree with my interpretation of that, but these things do happen, and, history really does have that type of snowball effect where everything just comes together. And also, the thing that we would say, I know this isn't the most interesting statement, but one of the points that they talked about in Spyweb Mossad is one of the most overlooked aspects of the Mossad is their ability to gather information about science. And one of the things that is quite different amongst the other nations of the Middle East is that Israel is a nuclear power. And I was also watching the other documentary, Israel's Secret Weapon, which talks about the imprisonment of a whistleblower who tried to reveal secrets about Israel's nuclear program, Mordecai Vanunu. And they're just trying to say these very similar things, that Israel is a nuclear power in the Middle East, and they've been gathering information all over the world, and they've been sending it into Israel. By they, I mean agents of the Mossad and similar operations, and perhaps the interactions between other governments. And this is putting a lot of pressure on other people, and they turn over information and they collect it, and they create new types of military technologies. And in Israel's Secret Weapon, they really wanted to make the case that Israel is doing a lot of these things that are outside the examination of other Middle Eastern nations. They are not being held to any standard, more or less. That is one of the arguments that is made in that film. So that's some other material that we can explore. And I got to be very clear with you. This is not some type of anti-Israeli message. This is not some type of anti-anything message. This is simply looking at what do other people have to say. And sometimes you have to go and find that diamond in the rough. Where are the actual pieces of truth? Or there could just be little speckles of truth in a giant messy situation, and you have to sort themselves out. One of the things you can say, though, is I heard this metaphor recently. If you want to find the needle in the haystack, I don't even know if this metaphor is the right word. If you want to find the needle in the haystack, you can burn the haystack and the needle will remain. So let's just try and sort through some of this far out wacky internet commentary. And let's not kid ourselves. A lot of this stuff is conspiratorial, and there are going to be conspiracy theories associated with this subject. But if there is something that you can say that will challenge somebody's conspiracy theory, why not challenge them? If there is something you can say that perhaps could even debunk somebody's conspiracy theory in its entirety, why not debunk them, investigate, and share the findings? So as I said, though, this is going to be something that we're going to be doing over the course of the next couple weeks. I can't even guarantee the dates that each individual episode is going to be coming out, but I would like to talk about, of course, the Kennedy assassination, Jeffrey Epstein, and possibly one on the issues surrounding 9/11, but we are approaching September 11th soon, so maybe we'll wait and not try and let's just have a little bit of a memorial before we even talk about some really far out 9/11 truth theories. 9/11 truth is a subject that I find rather difficult to talk about. I did an upload about it, and I recorded it twice for Black Box Online Radio, and I was like, I just can't upload this, where we're, just challenging the different kinds of theories that people have about what happened with the Twin Towers and the Pentagon. And I just didn't feel right putting it out because I just really didn't feel that the message would be perceived very well because, I mean, like, as we said, it's about trying to find the truth. Like, you're listening to somebody else. And do you ever have these moments when somebody is just telling you what they think about the world and you're like, I completely see what you're saying on this point, and I would be in complete agreement with you on this one. And then the next one is, I don't agree with you at all. I think that that's a far out, wacky, crackpot point. Maybe you don't always verbalize it with that intensity, but those are some of the things that I was really trying to do with the 9/11 Truth upload. So, with the Kennedy assassination, I'm going to be going through a little bit more material. I got to do a lot of reading on this subject before we're going to be able to be putting these things out in any sort of justifiable fashion. And the same is going to be true of Jeffrey Epstein. We've mentioned Epstein before on this channel in several uploads, talking about his private island, as well as talking about his connections to just the global elites and a lot of the other commentary, even some of the claims of Noel Castler. We've mentioned about Jeffrey Epstein on this channel, as well as the Netflix docuseries Filthy Rich. And we've mentioned a few people that are somewhat skeptical about 9/11 Truth, but we've never done a specific upload purely dedicated to it. So look out for some new things on Black Box Online Radio. And once again, if you have any ideas for things that you would like covered on the channel, please drop your idea in the comments section below, and we will try to do it in the future. And always, please look out for some new things on serial killers and the Zodiac Killer here available on this channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is an excellent time to subscribe so you can follow along with this new series. And I will say that I will see you guys on Instagram for the bonus podcast. That's all for me now. Until next time.